The music box played a melody that felt like sunlight breaking through fog, a delicate crystal tune floating on the autumn air of Lavelle. In that small street market, beneath the canopied stalls bursting with color, Camilla had seen him for the first time amid the throng of hurrying people. It wasn't his eyes that caught her, though they were as shadowy as a midnight storm, but the way he handled the music box he was examining with such care, as if it were a living thing. "No charge," she found herself saying, surprising the stranger and herself. The words spilled out before she could rethink the impulse, leaving her cheeks warm like the blush of dusk. His expression shifted from skeptical to curious, an unreadable dance of light and dark. "Why, boy?" he asked, his voice smooth like smoke, winding through the cooling evening. "Everyone deserves a little music," Camilla replied, smiling despite the rushing uncertainty in her chest. An act of kindness, a bridge across the ordinary, she thought, never suspecting what orchestration her small gesture would unravel. Camilla was, to the world, nobody special, florist's assistant by week, a solitary dreamer by weekend, tending the marigolds along the apartment windowsill. Her world rotated between the vibrant petals and the peace she found in the pages of novels, where the bigger pictures painted grander lives than her own. Lavelle, with its cobbled streets and drifting scent of sea salt, was both comfort and cage. For most, Camilla was a name easily forgotten, not for its lack of beauty, but because she wore invisibility with the grace one carries an unacknowledged talent. She'd woven herself into the audience of life, watched others' stories unfold, their highs and lows like notes on a music score. That afternoon, she drifted through her routines beneath the tepid October sun, her thoughts occasionally drifting back to the stranger. He had thanked her with a nod before disappearing into the crowd, his figure quickly obscured by the press of bodies. But something lingered in echo of the moment, a nagging curiosity that twinkled like stars hidden by a veil of night. And then came the crisis. 2 days later, the familiar bell above her shop door jangled with an unfamiliar intensity as 3 figures cloaked in leather and shadow stepped inside. Their presence was as cold and palpable as the sudden wash of rain against the window, their eyes scanning the flower-lined shelves with a predator's hunger. "You sold something," announced the tallest man, whose gaze seemed chipped from ice, darker than the space between stars. "We need to know who bought it." I don't recall," Camilla stammered, suddenly aware of the fragility of her role in this unforeseen play. Her heart raced, thundering in the silence that followed. "Remember," urged the second, his voice a serpent's hiss. "It's important for your safety." Fear prickled beneath her skin like an approaching storm. Safety? The comfort of her ordinary life seemed a distant shore she might never reach again. But she stood firm, unaware of the world threading her into its weave with strands she couldn't perceive. As they left, each footstep echoing like a slow drumbeat in the empty space they vacated, Camilla clutched the counter as if it were an anchor. The encounter shook her, but another feeling emerged, a resolve, delicate yet unmistakable, a defiance against the forces she could not yet understand. Obstacles mounted swiftly. Hidden eyes watched her from the shadows of Lavelle's streets. The weight of unspoken threats followed her like an unfading shadow, curling around her every step. Whispers spread, as rumors are wont to do, that she was involved with something far beyond her, so it seemed. Yet within her, a dormant courage unfurled, woven into her spirit like the petals of the marigold she tended. Gradually, contradictions in her everyday world appeared. Deliveries of flowers to unknown addressees that returned with hushed gratitude. Strangers whose aggressive interest in her life was cloaked in silence. Yet still she resisted succumbing to fear's embrace. And then, as unexpected as the storm's lightning flash, the stranger reappeared. Under the flickering lamplight of an alleyway, he stood waiting, a figure cast half in shadow, half in uncertain light. His presence was a catalyst, and in his eyes she found an unexpected alliance forged from brief kindness. "You gave me music when I needed it most," he began, his tone a melody of secrets. From his pocket, he revealed the music box. It gleamed dully, its tune captured like stars in a jar. In that moment, the world inverted. This man, Luca, as he introduced himself, spoke of connections tangled in Mafia ties, a web unseen by most. Her small gesture had positioned her at the nexus of something monumental. The gravity of these revelations spun her thoughts out into disbelief and fear, yet somehow hope remained a precious thread through the chaos. The climax of her existence, her new beginning, had been kindled with the simplest of offerings, transforming her from the overlooked to the pivotal, from existing behind the scenes to standing center stage. Now, as Camilla stood alone in the quiet sanctuary of her flower shop, she understood one simple truth. Sometimes a whisper in the storm can change the world. Her life lay open, rewritten by choices she hadn't realized she was making. The scent of blossoms mingled with the night's cool breath as Luca's enigmatic words lingered in memory. "Your kindness was your choice," he had said. "Now make another stand with us." In the alley's dim light, she turned back towards the music box, its lid ajar, revealing a note inside folded with delicate care. Her heart thrummed with the tension of new beginnings. Her path altered, like the wind changes a river's course. But then, a flicker of shadow outside the shop's window caught her eye, a form lingering at the periphery of her vision. She paused, held by its ambiguity. "What does it mean?" she whispered to herself, fingers brushing the music box as the shadow shifted, promising secrets yet to be revealed. The night held its breath, a tense pause between the past and what was yet to unfold. "Nothing is what it seems, Camilla," Luca's voice resonated in her mind, as tangible as the cool breeze skating across her skin. Camilla stood by the ocean's edge, the tumultuous waves mirroring the turmoil within. The taste of salt lingered in the air, embedding itself with unyielding resolve. Bewilderment had marked her life since that alley encounter, when her wavering future shifted course just like the evening tide receding into darkness. For Lavelle, a quaint harbor town seemingly locked in time, held secrets cloaked beneath everyday life, whispered among dock workers, shared over glasses clinking in dimly lit bars. Fewer people than one might expect truly knew the city's clandestine heart. Truth Camilla had been thrust into ungracefully. Though not by choice, it was by her own gestures, small actions drawing her into this web of dangerous allure. She was more than just the keeper of flowers now. The music box, this thing of wonder, had set into motion a maelstrom neither her instincts nor simple kindness could have anticipated. Its silvery tune was a serpentine thread, weaving her fate with the dynasty of the Solano family, a name that undercut polite whispers with fear. As Camilla's life shifted into uncharted waters, her days were filled with more than the comforting scent of marigolds. Eyes once overlooked now watched from vibrant corners and shadowed alleyways. "Funny how fate plays its cards," Camilla murmured softly, thoughts swirling like the ocean's foam. She'd taken to speaking aloud, a peculiar habit she adopted for reassurance. Her routine had become punctuated with newfound knowledge and curiosity, all tethered by the memory of Luca's intense, storm-shadow gaze. His words etched into her psyche, both a warning and an invitation. The clock ticked the moments slowly, an interminable procession of uncertainty. She remained vigilant, aware now of malignant forces bent on tracking her, every move pressing her with an insidious urgency. The shop bell, once a sound of comfort signaling Flora's arrival, now quivered with a newfound weight. Each time it chimed, it stirred unease as it echoed through the quiet shop filled with floral fragrance and unfurling intrigue. Among the throngs of people, a tell emerged, as Camilla began to piece together the faces lingering with intent. Her subconscious registered those whose presence seemed to hover longer than most, whose eyes hadn't shared a story of color, but rather an untold tale. A striking woman with raven hair and crimson lips frequently cast glances that pricked at her awareness, her beauty ensnared in an aura of ambiguity. Camilla felt the weight of her scrutinizing focus pressing against the veil of her cultivated invisibility. The day passed languidly. Lavelle's streets hummed with life's mundane rhythm, yet hidden choreography orchestrated movements unseen by the innocent eye. Small comforts became refuges, lending moments of reprieve to a mind racing with unspoken conclusions about Francesco Moretti's visit. Francesco, the Solano's trusted shadow, had approached her with silken assurances, eloquent promises hiding threats thinly veiled. He spoke of balance, of the intricate dance she had waded into unthinking. "You, dear girl, hold the seeds of change," he whispered, voice laced with ambiguous designs. His presence and words lingered long after, haunting her dreams and capturing every waking thought. An ominous understanding burgeoned as Camilla reflected on the mysterious piece of the puzzle presented by the music box, a key to something she hadn't yet grasped fully. Her thoughts turned often to Luca Constant, unfurling, with the same pull as the moonlit tide. The autumn wind slipped through like a sigh, caressing her cheek, orchestrating shadows against the marigold's bright faces. Her heart pulled her in two directions, back to the life before, quiet and predictable, and forwarded towards an unfathomable destiny. Choice, she whispered to the silence within, feeling its absolute weight settle. Luca's voice a smoky reminder that became her mantra. Night descended over Lavelle, washing the town in silken tranquility, mingled with latent tension. As Camilla closed the shop door that evening, the day's dying light sealed behind her a promise of closure and suspense. Her steps naturally led to the alley, a place marked now by the past promise of revelation shared. The haunting melody of the music box played in rhythm to her footsteps. Yet tonight it called to her beyond its haunting lullaby, connected to something more profound. Upon reaching the alley's edge, she found it deserted, but for the rustling whispers carried by evening's breath. The shadows danced forward shyly in dim light, forming familiar outlines etched against her memory. A glimmer in the darkness caught her attention, an unmistakable, solitary figure cloaked in solitude, as though absorbed by the very fabric of night's garments. She moved forward, compelled by the inevitability of their connection, until she drew breathless near, discerning two figures now entwined. "Trusted it's your game now," a voice murmured, threading together fear and resolve. The shadows shifted, grew longer, inviting her hesitant steps into their embrace, yet teasing with the promise of stories someone else deemed too dangerous uttered in full light. At this past precipice, one thing remained clear, even in ambiguity. Look, something else is out there. A paused heartbeat waited, her resolve teetering on the edge like the waves crashing below. The searing crack of a gunshot shattered the silence, bouncing between the alley's brick walls like an angered ghost seeking vengeance. It wasn't the shot that froze Camilla in her tracks, but the sudden realization that its intent wasn't a miss, but a warning. In Lavelle, surprises didn't quietly tap at doors. They crashed through lives like uninvited specters, demanding attention. She blinked into the half-dark, veins thrumming like the aftershocks of the echoing discharge, as she remained unseen beneath the shadows of crumbling facades. Camilla's world was velvet and shade, a spelunking journey through life's quieter, untroubled moments. That is, until she found herself standing on this precipice of criminal twilight. A plain girl living among flowers, she quietly harbored dreams beneath astutely arranged petals, inked in sunlit prose, unworthy of remembrance when compared to the marvels of living music. Her life's unremarkable tempo offered no rehearsal for moments like these, under threat, encompassed by the night's concealed powers, playing human chess under a rulebook she hadn't chosen to follow. The market stall, the gift, they were the beginning of tangled strings pulled taut by unseen hands. Here, secrets were currency, and her wallet had been empty, until now. Her breath misted in the cool air, mingling with the faint scent of gunpowder seasoned with rust. Behind her, the sea murmured a timeless lullaby against the harbor, a comforting backdrop to unraveling tension. "Camilla." The voice was familiar, its accent a cocktail of smoke and winter chill. Luca emerged from shadows not unlike those that camouflaged her thoughts. His presence was understated yet vital, much like the lighting of a stage. "What now?" she whispered, anxiety shaping her words into shapes fragile like paper lanterns. His eyes were a storm's memory, glinting in low light. "We make choices." His gaze met hers, bridging worlds. "Like I said, you're caught in threads deeper than you know. But if we pull away the knots, we might find something unexpected." Trust was a frail thing, burgeoning with the tautness of a spider's web, something spun from instinct and desperation. Their pact was silent, forged in shared danger. The quiet resolve carried them, day by day, amidst faces that were masks and whispers that doubled back on themselves. Camilla's shop became her sanctuary and trap, an exposed nerve in the tightly woven fabrics of Lavelle's marketplace, where the scent of marigolds tangled with ever-present tension. Her hands trembled on the stems, crafting floral arrangements with precision, unconscious, to the thunderous confusion swirling in her wake. She sought solace in structure, in the predictable bloom and fade of petals, as if, steadfast through nature's own drama, they could offer guidance. "Doesn't look like this is your forte," piped a voice sharp and bright, like light refracted painfully through glass. Allegra Solano. Her beauty was notorious. Deadly siren dressed in finery of deep reds and midnight blacks. And now, inexplicably, she lingered at Camilla's counter with unrivaled ease. Each movement Allegra made was elegance veiling knife's-edge intentions. Her interest was not benign but directed, an enigma wrapped in heavy perfumed air, and promises left waiting. Fear clawed at Camilla's insides. "I wouldn't be so sure. Flowers tell more stories than one might think," Camilla countered, her voice finding new levels of steel hidden within. The expression on Allegra's face flickered through amusement. Curiosity? Hint of something darker as she leaned across the counter, a predator testing boundaries. "Do they? Curiosity often brings challenges." She tossed her words carelessly as poisonous seeds in a barren field. Obstacles lurked like jagged rocks beneath the surface, a sense of urgency pressing from all sides. The Solano name carried weight beyond what her gift's ripples suggested, setting events in motion that Camilla now navigated with delicate hands. Her confidence was fragile, couched in Luca's reassurances and coded glances shared across rooms filled with heavy, watchful eyes. "Hold on to that melody of yours. You'll need it." The music box's whisper echoed a secret truth in her mind, and somehow her solitary gesture seemed prescient and puissant. A safeguard grown into armor, if only she recognized its power enough to wield it. Through the escalating maze of frenzied interactions, of innuendos and threats spun by practiced voices, she forged ahead, a tapestry unraveling to show not decay, but the gleam of unknown stories granted time to ferment. Then came the night when her clandestine world began to shift. Lights dimmed low. The chatter of night creatures raised a symphony of their own, blending with the salt-heavy air that typified Lavelle's nights. A meeting request, non-negotiable, arrived whispered on the alley's edges, threading fear with anticipation. Luca and Camilla met the invitation with mutual understanding, navigating darkly lit streets until arriving at the cobblestone terrace candlelit against the eternal sea. The gathering moved like shadows beneath a canopy of laughs and laced words, malevolent promises lingering just beneath the surface exchanges. Camilla felt a tremor of danger dance along her spine, providing no room for retreat, when Francesco stepped forward, drowning out the soft music from the lantern-dotted harbor, with authority manifested in black attire and polished demeanor. His gaze cut through the distance, finding Camilla amid faces marked familiar only through association. "In our choices lies the power. We're all connected here, truly," his voice laced with silk and steel. "What's moved you to gamble this much, Are hearts of stone and smoke worth the risk?" He waved them forward with an extravagant gesture. The gathered smiled in compliance, but tension roiled like an approaching storm, threatening gale. "Don't be fooled. Time's not a luxury any of us hold eternally," he concluded, stepping back as if to await choices he believed already mapped. Camilla's heart stuttered in its desperate dance, a contradiction caught among gears that grinded without cease, forcing her to look at the path she'd woven from innocuous thread, now rendered vibrant with dangerous lure. As the evening wound tight around decisions not fully formed, Luca's steady presence offered the solace of understanding. It all condensed into one certainty. Change, like the oceans, was immutable, persistent. "Decide, Camilla," Luca urged with the authority of a captain, navigating through churning seas. In the salient silence that drew the night to a crescendo, Camilla's voice rose, a revelation shaped in urgency. Sometimes a heart must stand alone, beside the music. The force of her decision rippled outward, counted by whispered promises and reverberating pulses of understanding below the moon-drenched stars. As they left the terrace, the laughter soft and fading, doubt came to wrap itself tightly around their heavy hearts. Yet it was paired with a burgeoning resolve. One path could now follow with bravery. And just as the moments gathered into silence, out of the shadows stepped a figure, a silhouette blended with whispered mystery. Look closely. Illusion's shadow hides more than it shows, the figure intoned, vanishing almost as soon as it appeared. The wind carried its challenge away, leaving only the echo of Clara's heart amplified within her chest, a drumbeat that promised a new reckoning. The rain cut through the silence like scattered needles, each droplet whispering secrets of the storm in a language only the heart really understood. Camilla didn't flinch, the sound somehow soothed, grounding her in reality briefly as she stood under the shadow of the Gothic architecture looming over the city of Lavelle. Her fingertips brushed against the music box safely tucked in her coat's inner pocket. Relic and ally in this bewildering journey through a life now so different from the weeks before. Luca's parting words were a knot in her mind, unfolding briskly as the rain tamed Lavelle's simmering chaos into a reflective calm. "You're never alone with a song," he had said, before disappearing beyond the veil of night. Camilla wasn't ready to feel the warmth in his absence. She needed to rely on this tether among the strained alliances threading her altered reality. Hidden connections pulsed beneath her transition from solitude to involvement, juxtaposition casting long shadows into her thoughts. The street signs were stories of angular iron and gentle lamplight, illuminating truths, steering her toward revelations. People passed in commuter blurs, fading like dreams upon waking, erasing recognition with every step further from commonplace and further into a shifting tapestry sewn with stories and secrets hidden until sought unwillingly. A gust of wind flung drizzle across her face, anointed with the tang of salt escaping the sea's eternal guard, kneading civility into time's hold, like an artisan shaping raw essence into form. Tonight, though, reassurances speckled the night's dark fabric. Mysteries entangled within her reach. It was the music found in meaning its melody, unbroken faith beneath volatile waves of doubt knuckling about. As Camilla crossed the cobblestones, the shadows stirred inside, weighed heavy with the currency of unanswered pledges and growing foresight. She made her way toward the terrace where promises had been intimated, a meeting place amongst the tendrils of unspoken histories, where public life brushed against clandestine intents. The terrace was suffused with the gentle flicker of candlelight basking in its isolated splendor. A small gathering clothed in ambiguity waited, echoes of coin-soft laughter bouncing lightly from stone facades. Camilla inhaled, steadying nerves taut atop this precipice. The inflection of paths once diverged now uncloaked. One mask peeled delicately away with Allegra Solano extending filigree gestures into receding shadows. The space filled with tension characters refined by fortune, tethered to whispers belying the secrets coming to life among the murmurs. Here, amidst the polished marble floors and restrained longing of long-held reaches, rules were sketched anew, dictated by the future chiseled from threads barely woven. Allegra's laughter hooks along the spine of air, a trap stitched with silken notes. Curious place for new beginnings, wouldn't you agree, Camilla? Her voice dipped low as resonant words carried toward the fluttering gospel of night things. Yet Camilla stood calm beneath the scrutiny, trusting the unnoticed power cultivated in obscurity that now simmered beneath traded glances. Further conversations interweaved into patterns, intimates unraveling intent tinged with mischief and recognition. Camilla's intrigue flickered when Francesco stepped forward, the charisma woven into his presence just daring enough to delight senses attuned by necessity. "Let's toast to magnitudes we've yet to understand," Francesco declared, clinking a glass adjoined by its kin amid the plaintive night. The gathered indulged in the momentary cerebration, marbled celebration of choices converging under fragile facades. She watched carefully as turnings unfolded in pure possibilities, alliances embraced under ever-watching starlight above Lavelle. With a gentle pivot, Allegra held forth the evening's enigma, a sinister offer clothed in charisma's threads. "Pick a side, dear girl. Fortunes favor those prepared for change." The delicacy, the deliberation inherent in Allegra's command accentuated urgency. Camilla's response weighted in the insights collected with Luca's clear reasoning. Through institutional memory ingrained, Camilla poised her answer born from recent travails, threaded with belongings dance, a tale crafted in instinct refined amidst old frameworks. Her smile was soft but didn't mask tested resolution. Words silked themselves into existence. Every step counts. Counting shadows turned into light. Striking an invisible match of resolve, Camilla faced backward paths less with fortitude, clutched close upon rejuvenated foundations. A stray candle winked out as a breeze snagged its flame, flickering shadows cast amidst dancing refraction, detailing futures awaiting the embrace of deliberate steps. In retreat, questions echoed myriad tones. Phantom voices cycled spectra, presumed both known and unbidden. Each step counted now. Camilla tracked toward the life measured in things revealed amid the trusted undercurrents. And as shadows deepened their hues, allegiances swirled between each bending moment, proclaiming unfulfilled destinies waiting to uncoil when least expected, a brewing cyclone dwelling within shared directions, stretching the lifelines merging into evening's embrace. Upon leaving, Camilla felt Luca's steady presence beside her, unseen but not unfelt of fraternal strength, letting scope imagination broaden its horizons. A new day promised mutations, dictated by choice, backed no longer by inflection, sequestered and quiet, but open to all of Lavelle's missives alive and profound. As they left the terrace and time lingered disjointed, the shape of their fates curving into broad arcs, melding choices become vivid possibilities. Echoes of decisions rang gloried across waves, Lavelle's spirits, conjuring witness starlight, shared in translucent harmony. A glance disguised by shadows retreat, gloried a simple shift. The curl of a whispered conversation caught adrift as a candled silhouette promised, I still want to know. The sickle moon hung precariously in the night sky, casting its pale light upon the waterfront, much like an overseer contemplating the fate of the world below. Camilla's heart echoed its uncertainty, the rhythm a discordant song in her chest. She clutched the music box closer, a sympathetic companion. Around her, the world seemed to hold its breath, caught in a delicate balance between fleeting peace and pending turmoil. The cobbled streets glistened under the soft rain that pattered incessantly, a haunting melody against the quiet backdrop of Lavelle's sleeping quarters. Renato, a name whispered in conspiratorial tones, arrived silently amid the tangible tension. His arrival was marked not by grand entrance, but through a mere change in the wind, a chilling gust that rippled through the marketplace. Renato Manfredi, the ghost of Lavelle's Mafia chronicles, a man whose existence was as much urban legend as it was a nod to an irrefutable reality. His presence ignited a conflict she hadn't anticipated, a face she knew only from hushed stories. As Camilla locked eyes with him, she noticed the sharp lines of his visage. Time had etched its story on his face as deliberately as an artisan carving intrigue into stone. Not often we meet familiar faces in unfamiliar settings, he remarked casually, his voice deep and resonant, punctuated by the promise of threats unspoken. Camilla's skin prickled under his gaze, a predator's intimate regard of intrigue and calculation. She hid behind a mask of taciturn resolve, one earned through recent trials that had thrown her into Lavelle's shadowed circles. I'm just someone who waters flowers, she replied carefully, each word balanced between uncertainty and defense. Renato gave a soft chuckle, a sound more akin to a feline purr enclosing its prey than any indication of pleasantness. In Lavelle, everyone's more than they appear, Signorina. Renato's words hung suspended, gossamer thread weaving tension with an ornately woven narrative. The secrets and mysteries she'd begun to unravel now appeared as layers beneath a surface she hadn't known was there before. Camilla knew that this encounter wasn't happenstance, but the unfolding of choices previously placed into play, now cascading dominoes aligning fate's unexpected outlines. It seems you found yourself at crossroads, Renato continued, casually inspecting a silver ring, a symbol of allegiance that glimmered in muted lamplight. Sometimes paths choose us, Camilla countered, her voice gathering courage, quivering just slightly like leaves before a storm. The rain fell heavier now, its rhythm interrupted by the sound of footsteps, a procession echoing deeper into Lavelle's entrails, from which secrets could no longer hide. With each step, Camilla's resolve solidified. Underneath the charming bravado allowing her to converse with Renato was understanding grown from necessity and awareness of an invisible dance she had joined. Yet the pressures increased like waves relentless upon tireless shores. Allegra's shadow hovered, weaving through her days with cryptic allure an entanglement of interests poised delicately between partnership and proprietary advantage. It was in the clandestine corners shared with Luca that Camilla found equilibrium. They became touchstones, guiding needful clarity as allegiances traced in cunning reached toward purpose driven by threads unknown to others. Allegra's visit later was announced with delicate taps of her heels upon polished floors of the market. Her presence elated a secret charm, uniquely eloquent, danger wrapped in silk. Allegiances shift like the tides, my dear. Do you trust your choices? Allegra's inquiry delivered in a voice both inviting and challenging. Camilla stopped another bouquet mid-arrangement, eyes flicking toward Allegra, herself reflected in 1,000 buds concealing complexity behind their chromatic appeal. Trust is earned, isn't it? In experience, and perhaps in daring ventures. Allegra paused, considering her quietly with piercing intent. I suppose caution's not your only currency, but keep your game aware, yes? Her presence ebbed as it surged a wisp of lavender and smoke, with a tone equally ephemeral, carrying implications as explosive as they were beguiling. Days folded into weeks, and the fabric of Camilla's world stitched anew, an evolving tapestry accommodating unanticipated familiarity with Lavelle's secretive heart. Her own convictions steeled themselves amid the chaos and revelations, the embossed pathways revealing territory tempting, yet treacherous. An unexpected dusk meeting saw Camilla perched on the edge of Lavelle's dockside, shadows of cranes dancing their machinations against the impending twilight. Luca slid surreptitiously beside her, his presence grounding. Isn't visibility a threat disguised as comfort, he mused, regarding the horizon blurred between expectant evening and residual daylight. Camilla humored quiet contemplation before replying, we seek shelter in shared silence, where understanding leaves no mark but solidarity to rend out. Luca chuckled, appreciation resonating through him. Nod shared between confidants. Danger acknowledged, yet not fully named. Camilla's thoughts drifted to echoes past in those unresolved strands lingering, capturing them with sudden clarity, like moon's gaze lighting familiar lines into reflections. I heard you met Renato, Luca prompted suddenly, his interest neither casual nor peripheral, but sharply focused. The ghost of smoke-heavy dialogue, expressive of alliances pondered, wove through her memories. Less of a meeting and more acknowledgement of opposing specters. Specters indeed. Just remember, when shadows fall, motives untangle, his voice advised, the clandestine strength of his visage folding into the fabric of her understanding. As the stars pierced Lavelle's atmospheric veil bit by bit, luminance reflected across calm waters, stretching into secret histories. The world turned relentlessly, yet Camilla learned through incremental discovery how presence sketched position within Lavelle's multifaceted tableau. With circumspection as her ally, she faced a new meeting with Renato, orchestrated to unravel intentions bound to binding affiliates. A courtyard clothed in midnight hush bore witness to deliberate dialogue spun with care and effortful pretense. The music box. It brought more than melody to Lavelle's corridors, Renato echoed, eyes searching her will. I believe it found melodies we weren't prepared for, Camilla challenged, her stance solidified equilibrium between cautious anticipation and the will to persist. Renato's smile was synonymous with layered deceit, yet something intrigued flickered behind trained restraint, tacit willingness to exchange palpable beneath wry demeanor. Seems you're a quick learner, Camilla, don't let the dance swallow you whole. The words, part warning and partial admittance, held gravity she hadn't expected. Rain subsided to mist, that evening tempered with inevitability, playfully weaving companions within each unfolding breadth of the city's drama. Camilla met these shifts with resolve compelled by immeasurable, friable potential spiraling outward. The clock ticked, time hovered unfinished. Camilla poised upon her balcony, enfolded by the echoes of Lavelle's whispered textures, gliding through half-truth with unslain determination. Her own anticipation strung a fine line at crescendo, where each new dawn aligned against the weight of history riddled burgeoning, yet not fully manifested. A subtle message arrived eventually, an enigmatic inscribed note promising further revelations as she surrendered it unopened to the wind's keeping, delivering its fate. Her heart swelled, capable of comprehending paradox beyond ordinary witness, a secret comfort reach unperceived. As rain drummed against hidden windows, the evening closed with the ghostly apparition of a melody known but unclaimed. A final thought lingered as silence descended, a persistent enigma. Beware the lull, where silence is betrayal's humble servant. A gunshot in the dark, the resounding echo swallowing the street, and Camilla's heart leapt into her throat. She wasn't the target, but the silhouette that stumbled, clutching their shoulder while collapsing against the nearest lamppost, told enough of the storm brewing. That scene unfolded rapidly like ink spilled on parchment, seeping beyond clear comprehension. The night pooled around her like ink, drowning the edges of the waterfront under shadowy cloaks. Even the haphazard marketplace lamps strained to cut through the oppressive blackness hanging heavily over Lavelle. Yet in stagnant air, every clipped step, every echoing shout, and the staggering breath of the wounded figure reached her like the grating notes of a broken symphony. Camilla stood frozen, clinging to a lamppost as if its iron strength could anchor her in reality's unyielding embrace. The chilled autumn breath kissing her cheeks was the only counter to the feverish whirl of thoughts. Somehow she had imagined herself removed from fights like this, poised quietly as a clandestine observer, never embroiled in the struggle directly. The marketplace lay subdued now, whispers threading through the stalls in hushed tones, casting shades of the story unfolding. Surrounding shops were shuttered, typical under Lavelle's midweek quiet and not uncommon, given recent times leaving Camilla's flower shop as an unlikely oasis of normalcy and trepidation. Her music box, a small constant, nestled in her pocket amid a delicate song, underscoring a world filled with tensions and secrets unfolding. The melody rose from the confines, a peacemaking echo reverberating against the fear skating near her. Across the cobbled distance, the shadowed figure turned, exposing a pale profile washed by lanterns fading into the distance. Recognition clawed at her like a specter, and her heart ached at the sight of Luca, her confidant, friend, enigma all compacted into a shifting silhouette. They moved quickly, these shadows, he gasped through tempered breaths, the melody of his voice struggling against shadows swarming closer. They want us all silenced, she replied, her own voice steadying, though fear threaded itself through too. Inside the safety of her shop walls, the stubborn scent of marigolds entwined with the coppery tang Luca trailed in, each note hardening her resolve. The modest setting didn't match the intensity crackling between them. Strains of loyalty between her and Luca, between the promise of silence and newfound truth smerged like wayward streams into one dissonant, flowing river. This was a moment she'd long silently contemplated, but never truly grasped until it folded her within its depth, carrying her forth to uncharted destinies. I thought they underestimated you, Luca admitted, with the bravado that partially masked the pain cutting through his middle. Camilla held an accumulating pressure of bitter brew crafted from secrets and false comforts, at bay with fragile dignity. She moved without hesitation, fetching cloth, first aid supplies, her hands a testament to tender action, fortified by confidence she hadn't thought she possessed. Allegra's shadow danced beyond the window panes, visible beneath gold-tinted streetlight, pinched together as though capturing intrigue's essence in the folds of finer silks. Here, allegiances splintered as glass, and she wondered how fragile those tented bonds really were. Yet in that same vein ran an unyielding assurance. Luca, whom she'd seen once as a mysterious figure held apart from everyday life, was starkly invoked with each press of their shoulders setting together for support as he patched himself through familiar routines. Renato's ties grow tangled. Luca's inflection underscored their unpredictable path-twisting, arcs poised to unravel like a spooled sonnet overdue for recitation. His presence, marked by conspiracies and kinships, carried both the menace of their situation and honor embedded among tales. Camilla observed something deeper flickering momentarily in his glance, beyond menace, beyond iron-bound duty, a complexity she now found frequent, among circles walked clandestinely. Outside gossamer frames, conspirators crafted binds. In the shared space of her shop, Luca lingered, leaving behind a tableau of unspoken resolves, camouflaged in passing attentions, remaining breathless from immediate improvised kinships. Morning filtered in, painting her surroundings with soft, dappled light, caught eternally upon rafters worn but steadfast. Somehow, in this gentler illumination, the city transformed from shadows fostering malice to busy city lapdogs greeting leaf-blanketed streets beneath tempered skies. In Lavelle's heart lay rhythm carefully crafted, each beat another passage honed onto sequences barely revealed beneath the surface's repeated dance. And amid its sunder and strafed emotions, Camilla trained herself calmly within boundaries held frayed for others, calls exchanged with allies, binding a unity found barely through circumstance. The bouquet she clutched felt light between hands burdened with memory of touch before presented to frayed collars worn by allegiances, carried privy now beyond sight. Shutters, once tight-clapped wood over clear glass, parted cautiously, admitting unintended warmth beyond Chimera's long-awaited release. "Where do we begin?" Luca posed, his voice a whisper beneath newfound complexities. "We effect change one step at a time," Camilla answered, echoing secrets sown untold long within. Their words settled gently amid delicate perfumes, ascending the room's etheric arena, crafting unassuming blankets upon light and shadow, perchance where hope lingered, unfurling. Together they surveyed newly cut paths scattered with petals and truths plainly bitten, yet unconsumed. Around them rumors gathered strength atop soapboxes downwind climbs. Allegra's cadence enfolding edges of marketplace lull. Renato's maneuvers determining silent maneuverings go awry, while unforeseen hands conspire loyally, anticipating fate's metamorphosis aggressively. The sky beyond, scraped clear of yesterday's clinging menace, stood resplendent, a portrait awaiting new recollections, silent airs grasping toward futures unseen. Closing her eyes, Camilla opened an attuned symphony of perfumed air, intermingling whispers of Marigold's rejuvenating gasp amid Lavelle's intricate architecture, etched deeply. Luca nodded slowly, the tableau suspended between promise and plea. Learned wisdom reliant only upon fragments identifiable fiercely. Choice reached its zenith boundaries upon distilled freedoms found haphazardly amid surrender's grace. The bundling of time embraced her atmosphere, time unshared laying whirls resting easily, each touch drawing from broader legacy, ripple. Dreams harbored force, tempered by acceptance, faint but profound, glimpses drawn aside revealing more with each indulgence emerging courageously woven. It was then, in those brief moments, as dawn intertwined into awakening horizons whisper, Luca retired with among spinning dreams. A gesture, faux subtle pronouncement abiding still. The moment beckons us. The ghost smiled, the trace left upon marigold seeds sown indiscriminately scattered. The frantic symphony of Lavelle's night was abruptly pierced by the blast of gunfire, a brutal reminder of the world's encroaching lawlessness. The sound settled like fog over the alley where Camilla crouched, her heart pounding in time to the fading echoes. This time she was ready. The air was thick with rain and the metallic tang of gunpowder. Each breath a delicate balance between fear and resolve. Camilla's fingers brushed against the music box nestled securely in her coat, a talisman against the uncertainty permeating the streets of Lavelle. Once invisible, Camilla now stood at the epicenter of a storm she had unwittingly conjured. Introduced to the folds of the clandestine through a chance encounter, she had spent her days steeped in the quiet sanctuary of her flower shop, a realm of marigolds masked by the staccato rhythm of dockworkers' tales. But here, beneath the dim glow of street lamps, her invisibility melted away, replaced by the palpable weight of eyes watching her from the shadow-strewn corners of Lavelle's maze. Each glance she caught was shrouded in curiosity and suspicion, as if the war-torn landscape of alliances shifting beneath her feet had become her new vocation. Not all melodies are sweet, Luca had warned her before disappearing into the night, leaving behind the echo of unspoken truths. Tonight, Camilla understood those words more than ever. She had given a music box to a stranger, and with it, spun herself into a narrative edged with danger and intrigue. Her heart raced as the shadowy figure loomed in the alley, the streetlights casting long, twisting reflections across the cobblestones. It was Allegra, slicing through the air with her presence, her expression impassive, but her eyes vivacious with unstated intent. Choices come with consequences, Camilla, Allegra stated, her voice smooth as silk, the understatement of threat lingering like an unsheathed blade. Camilla met Allegra's gaze, their unspoken dialogue one of equals. And sometimes the melody changes the tempo, she replied, surprising herself with the firmness of her voice. The tension between them was as taut as an expertly tuned violin string, vibrating with potential yet unplayed notes. Allegra's visage softened, a shadow of a smirk grazing her lips, as though relishing the unexpected strength she saw in Camilla. Lavelle, in its subdued grace, was a city of whispered stories and hidden secrets, a panorama of shadow and light that hid more than it revealed. Here, within its depths, Camilla found herself, becoming a player in a game that transcended her own expectations. Suddenly, a crash unfurled behind her, breaking the spell. Camilla spun around, her senses on high alert, finding herself nose to nose with the enigmatic figure of Renato, who materialized from the darkness like a ghost from Lavelle's own mythic tapestry. "Camilla?" he intoned, voice laced with gravitas. "The time for hiding is past. You must step into the light." His words were more than a directive. They were a challenge. Renato's presence was formidable, a legacy wrapped in whispers. He, much like the city, was an enigma, each layer peeled back unveiling yet another mystery to be unraveled. Faced with Renato's intensity, Camilla felt her hidden resilience rising inside her, buoyed by the music box's comforting weight. Here was the fulcrum of her journey, the cusp of change she had unwittingly pursued. Around them, the night silence wrapped the trio in its folds, a breath held in anticipation of the subsequent twist. "Will you keep playing or step away?" Renato queried, his gaze intent on Camilla, challenging her resolution. Regardless of the danger, she realized she was determined to continue. "I'll play," she decided, the words leaving her lips like a promise. "I haven't heard the full song yet." With her declaration, the delicate equilibrium of the night shifted, inches from where neutrality faltered, weaving a new melody from the shadows of Lavelle's intricate dance. As the night wore on, Camilla found herself weaving through memories of blossoms and conversations, every choice replaying as though etched in the city's cobblestones. She recalled Luca and his impossible promise of beacon when the path seemed murky and blurred. Her ascent into Lavelle's new dawn was marked by resilience and emerging identity, a reminder that sometimes dread became dawn, turning trepidation to triumph. "Lavelle's like a rose," Luca once said, beautiful and full of thorns. And in this garden of reality, Camilla found herself not just a gardener, but a rose blooming amidst the intricate weave. But as dawn dripped gold over the horizon, the undertones of her existence rang clear. Life had a rhythm she was only beginning to understand. And in that fleeting moment, as shadows flickered under the dawn's probing light, Camilla understood her place within the world's grand tapestry. Her resolve firm, Camilla turned towards the path waiting before her, each step a woven note in the incredible music of her life, soon to reveal itself fully. Out of the quiet chaos, a new whisper came on a narrowing breeze, the beginning strains of a crescendo. A hand, pale in the mauve light of morning, reached from the shadow, offering a piece of paper folded like origami. "Not every story ends," the voice murmured, "but this one might." The earnestness in Luca's eyes was mirrored in each fold of the paper as potential futures beckoned with unspeakable complexity. Faced with this new enigma, Camilla realized sometimes symphonies held revelations disguised as simple notes. The lace of dawn was just settling in, the sky still holding the twilight at the rim of the horizon, when Camilla approached the harbor. The water reflected a disturbing tranquility, a ripple setting out towards an unseen storm. But the peace was not mirrored within her. "They know more than you think, Camilla." The words echoed in her mind. Had it been Allegra's voice or Luca's murmur? Everything swirled together these days, a kaleidoscope of warnings and courage. Camilla cut a lone figure shrouded in shadows, the scarf around her neck fluttering like the wings of a silent moth against the pre-dawn chill. Her music box, that small apparatus that once held the simplicity of innocence, stayed days tucked against her side, an unwitting key turned in the locks of Lavelle's darkest secrets. She glanced around, her senses heightened, as if the very stones and structures harbored whispers meant only for her. Her past self felt like an echo barely acknowledged against the cacophony of what she had become. "You think you're ready for today?" A voice emerged from the shadows, soft yet edged with expectation. Renato, she nodded, unable to decipher the burden of reassurance against a city waiting to be set ablaze by the fires of revelations yet unearthed. The day progressed with a predictably unpredictable tempo that only Lavelle could offer. Camilla's responsibilities pulled at her, the flower shop's demands grounding her amid the growing anticipation that filled her veins. Customers came and went, many with faces bloomed in familiarity, yet Camilla was no longer the invisible petal beneath their notice. "Are the marigolds still blooming beautifully, Camilla?" "They remain as vivid as I've heard," Allegra's voice came, touchingly genuine for the first time. Their brief exchange was perfidious, a vine that wrapped around her days, both enticing and claustrophobic. Yet today, the shop was set to close under muted ceremony. For now, marigolds could no longer serve her respite against the ensuing chaos. The invitation, expectant as it was clandestine, arrived folded with precision, its edges sharp, like the finely honed edge of a blade hidden beneath silk. This time it was the opera house, the stage set not for music, but for power plays ensnared in orchestrated tragedy and triumph. Her arrival was early, the grand foyer of the opera house as if bathed in liquid moonlight. The architecture loomed above like a theatrical canopy, every detail magnified beyond the mortale stage befitting the inevitable conclusions of lives entangled within scripts unseen. Camilla entered carefully yet owning every step, as if her previous self was shed like an outgrown dress. A few patrons lingered, personas fashioned in arrogance and silence, each weaving their own narratives into the space afforded them. As she walked beneath opulent chandeliers, whispers fluttered in tandem with her steps, boundaries stretching and retracting, curious and cautious with regard. Renato awaited her beneath an alcove lit tenderly by amber hues, his expression conveying the absence of judgment amid a mask heeding benign neglect. Family exists beyond blood, and choices we make are harbingers often hidden in plain light. He intoned softly, inviting her deeper into the embrace of that looming destiny. Camilla met his gaze, unflinching, her hold centered by the music box still there in reminiscence and trust. The evening descended, velvet breaking into scenes enveloped by exquisite doom, an aria foreshadowed beyond its gentle outset. In the gilded amphitheater, secret allegiances were rehearsed amid lines written by fate's own hand. Music, solemn yet disruptive, filled the air, its melodies rutting the conscience of the gathering watchers waiting, breath drawn tightly. It wasn't until midway through the performance, when the protagonists declared a forged path to regain their truth against the ciphers of past identities, that Camilla's heart thudded to a written script, each beat aligning her destiny with intent. Then the undercurrent shifted. An exchange unobservable to those caught in indolent leisure took place below the stage. Two shadows darting within corridors cast bronze with intention. Camilla rose subtly, as if drawn by instinct unseen, noting the flickering glance Renato cast her way, confirmation that tonight peeled back expected veneers. Then the confrontation began. Formal words stripped bare. Tonight we choose." Allegra's voice resonated as they emerged from the opposite entrance, eyes meeting Camilla's across the warranted space. Rings glinted, promises unstated, a legacy poised precariously on the edge of night and future. Paths intersected as sparks flew, not from guns, but from declarations stinging about choices embraced. Decisions clasped like dear friends' hands in moments that could be transitory or profound. For the sky above rolled with clouds carrying hints of rebellion and rebirth practiced against centuries-old script. Then, from the shadows, Luca appeared beside her, unpredictable, ever the counterpoint to looming certainties. The called refrain hung taut in the atmosphere sewn back together. The shift had begun. Maréchals known and brown saw roads altered under new directions, constellations realigning amid whispered ideals tirelessly intoned. Camilla felt unseen but very much engaged, embracing her reshaped narrative among chauffeurs and whispers ruled. As dawn broke upon Lavelle with its painted shadows caressing walls beneath its unpracticed, unmoving hand, the music box's song played no sweeter sound then. This was her moment, a truthful culmination envisioned yet still possible. Yet as sunlight stretched the city's contours into departure of night, the city awaited an answer deeply woven, an echo unwitting, an inquiring breath, new ballads yet unseen. Listen, listen, everything's about to begin, Luca murmured, ebbing toward the lightning horizon. And Camilla understood, insecurity wasn't an unfounded fear. It was acknowledgement the world would recalibrate tomorrow in words unfaltering. And the choice had always been hers. Alone, where echoes yet sang as endless prayers heard like murmurs wending through velvet coasts, Camilla existed in perfect understanding. Each step integral symbol declared, "Welcome to the crescendo." The streets of Lavelle were aflush with the rosy aftermath of dawn when a deafening explosion shattered the city's tentative silence. Camilla felt the vibration travel underfoot, a physical reminder of the chaos around every corner. Shards of glass rained onto the cobblestone, yet Camilla hardly flinched. Instead, she used the momentary distraction to slip unseen into an alleyway, the back of her hand brushing against the music box hidden securely in her coat. Her heart thumped with an urgency matched only by the ticking clock of unfolding events. In Lavelle, she was often an unseen figure, a florist knowing about bouquets more than betrayals. Now, the fragrant petals of marigolds that used to define her days felt a world apart. She was masked by roles dictated not by whims, but consequences. "Stop right there, Camilla," a voice rumbled from the alley's depth, a slow, calculated cadence weighed with past shadows. Emerging gradually from shadows, the silhouette of Renato tailed with dignity akin only to those who've walked through wisdom earned in blood and bond. Camilla's heart confirmed her instincts. She wasn't alone. "Thought you would stay locked behind flowers." Renato's voice was sandpaper-edged by earnest regret. "I learned that petals disguise more than they reveal," Camilla countered softly, bracing against intentions felt yet unspoken. Pressure bubbled between them. An unyielding intensity rolled across muted exchanges and dormant histories. The memory of Allegra, her watchful eyes cloaked in temptation of purified affections, played like strings plucked from nowhere. Her presence had been increasing shadows poised like porcelain masks, never truly revealing. Clocks ticking, Renato's advice climaxed sternly. "You're in deep, understand the weight, Camilla." Around them, voices emerged through the lattice of city murmurs now colored in vibrant suspicions. Camilla felt a quiet surge of inner defiance. Her quiet haven had morphed, changed under the conspiracy of choices navigated more by instinct than fabrication. Through time's ethereal weave, she'd managed the cusp between lives uncharted and betrothed to pathways inherently woven in Lavelle's confines. Doubt not her resolve, the hidden tone of convenience she and Luca frequented amid unscripted alliances once found. Yet, the simplicity of their alleged locale was one tool discarded amid unfolding fates. In Atelier alleyways drawn by age, unexpected snags traced her journey onward. Choice delineations conquered disharmony, undisguised among fluctuated embrace beneath night's placated rhythm. Prompted was an echoing call, unfoldings of ingrained fluency, camouflaged against new layers challenged, allegiances shifting with tides yet unfound. Would the simple rise within complex enfold its moment toward fruition? Distanced? "Reveal Lavelle under city's tapestry," Luca begged quietly, ushering a release to unchained exposure. "Complete the scenery." Camilla learned presence renegotiated into distinct clemency, bringing reflections, resonance, peerless toward patrons, engaging conduct. Devolving trust trembled, derived by camaraderie dictated and instructed. Unease gilded layers repeatedly. She leaned accompanied within crescents belonging, drawn out through known dimensions pleaded. Confronted now by bridges awaiting her to rise, Camilla observed intently a figure coalescing. Emerging background shadows cast subtle connections concisely reframed amid urgent breakthroughs guild. Indictment sobering sangorchestra primed for outcomes, no longer silenced. The city's unique cadence maintained the echo's chorus distant, Lavelle's promises encased fates told and stirred, patrons baited portions, opening seals unrevealed. Rain still clinging bits to breathing framework roiled somewhere propriety. Radicals exploring, cultivated emergence of renown, forged decorum, recognized distinct hinging ululation unsaid. Nature's perfume bore destiny's haven truly imposed by awe. Moonlight whispered tears evaporated beneath bold silhouettes rounded paramount trough. Surveys drifted subterraneous through revolutions repeated gentle explorations where harmony, sentimental, rose beyond apprehension. From somewhere behind, shadows whispered, caress void liberty's fragile visage. Gripped by truth revealed, clenched tightly. Leverage fainting's priority, assurance bonded, sealed binding toward existence forwarded resolved. Events driven poised sent, meticulous evolution. Versed matured history, outspoken giving, abrupt intended. Awoken purpose, yet sung delightful inclinations aside. New paths sang wholeness woven deliberate. The note grasped, terminating pause, unrequired under suspending canopy. Thus, disciples rallied, innate vision, undeterred, beneath prediction's canopy, suspended ephemera, saturating exquisitely posed lapel, hope alluring, stretched limitations aparted. Camilla inquired seeking stories, and the whispered resetting immersive story anew. Has fate chosen its victor? Came soft, carrying splinter, as accounts continued winding among endless reiteration. Fate's hymn began key among unrestrained etude. Unuttered oscillators posed invitation, welcomed here. Moment preceded conclusion, finally submerged into resolute cadence, illuminating aspects unveiling, embracing the curious ambiguity awaiting her. It's never plain nor certain. Yet there's always a moment, the voice and tone finality, plain. Silence followed, the discourse unfolding, resumed conversational intricacies, indicating shared transient, gracious passage unwinding, fitful loose, felt light flew bearer discretion unveiled. Hurry, or they'll find us! A breathless command cut through the weathered shadows of Lavelle, edged with urgency and fear. Camilla's legs burned as she sprinted through the twisted alleys, the heavy damp of morning mist mingling with the scent of salt and danger. Tenements blurred past her, their ancient facades silent witnesses to unfolding secrets. Behind her echoed the drumbeat of determined footsteps, a relentless march pursuing more than just a girl, but a key to unraveling truths long embedded in the city's heart. Stray sunbeams filtered through lingering cloud cover, casting ghostly patterns on Camilla's path. She clutched the music box under her armor relic, a burdensome ally, its familiar weight, both a comfort and a reminder of choices that had led her into the tangled web she now raced to untangle. Camilla Everson, once an invisible florist in Lavelle, found herself the axis upon which destinies turned. Her existence, once defined by marigolds glowing gently against a backdrop of mundane rituals, was now eclipsed by intrigue and the unyielding pressure to salvage more than just her safety. The city held its breath. Shadows whispered through tight alleyways, drawing ever closer hems of impending confrontation. With each heartbeat, Camilla felt the magnetic pull of her past decisions set into motion by the simplest act of kindness. Revelation stalked her. In the relentless game of cat and mouse, the hunter had become the hunted, and every instinct Camilla had honed pushed her forward. Lavelle's underbelly throbbed with secrets, entwining her fate with families whose only creed was power, won by any means necessary. Keep moving! The voice, echoing fiercely, spurred her on. Allegra Solano, a figure both intimidating and captivating, emerged from a side street, her gaze sharp as obsidian. Camilla had once been swallowed whole by the mere existence of such people, otherworldly figures who roamed the edges of legend and reality. Her understanding then, painfully naive. Allegra's charm belied a cunning wit, and Camilla found herself begrudgingly grateful for her company, despite the shadows each held close. Their allegiance, forged through necessity rather than trust, cemented by moments of shared struggle, stretched taut and uneasy. Behind them, whispers swelled and morphed with the city's restless cries, urging haste. Only hours before, Camilla had stood resolute amid the pell-mell chorus within the opera house, the lilting notes of the aria mingling with clandestine theatrics unfolding below. In the gilded sepulchre of culture, power plays took on a dance all their own, written by invisible hands guiding shadow figures. There, as layers were stripped in that intricate chamber of mirrors, truth and unyielding pillar had ambushed her, bearing unexpected strength hidden within silence well practiced. Renato's words echoed clear as crystal, haunting in their dichotomy, revealing like lightning cleaving a storm. Choices carve paths just as night carves day. Stand or surrender, Camilla. His directive left Camilla poised on the edge of precipitous outcome, but also confirmed what she feared. There was no going back, only forward into Lavelle's lustered night with a chorus of secrets and symphonies. Camilla knew, like the rhythm accompanying thunder and rain, she must not fall. Luca, constant and mysterious, appeared by her side instinctively, their shared harmony directing motions governed by forces greater than her whims and his promises. "You're braver than I ever imagined," his assertion buffered by admiration, poised between confession and encouragement. When such promised sympathies held form against opposition's gale, sheltering them from the storm, the predefined path seemed to realign beneath decisions taken. "Your song's not finished," Luca murmured softly, his declaration twinged with emotion. Trust swirled among them, the music box now a specter of guidance ensconced within the tangible warmth of relationship. Choices precipitated in motions reflective of faith, momentum revitalized within Camilla's intent as she confronted the unfolding drama of fateful days unplayed. And so they ran, a pair barely united by complicity amid the chasing shadows of Lavelle's labyrinth, toward a new dawn. Fragrance wafting from her worn envelope bound to Luca, Camilla crossed invisible bridges stretched across indwelling tension. Yet, courage composed its own symphony, her guardianship manifest across boundless breadth, whispered through necessity's drift. As rising sunlight cut through clouded anxiety, Lavelle revealed identity, unmasking theatrics earlier rehearsed only now erupting. No longer was she tethered to static fate's embrace found beyond nature's fumble. Camilla Everson, guardian of fading hedges and sharp intent, became Anthem's embodied purity, crossing thresholds by choice. And as the sky broke open, fountains of pure gold proclaiming day sparkled, their secrets seeping into morning light, uprooting doubts that dared to linger. The music box, once insignificant and forgotten among trinkets, unfurled itself at her center, never ceasing to resonate its tune, an ancient song inherited through whispers longing for closure. Amid the periphery flanked by intrigue's wild geographies, reluctant allies bound by shared and opposing forces reconciled themselves toward harmony's collective. Conscience and character, both cloaked within simplicity, now echoed with firm resolve. For Camilla, Lavelle was more than a setting. It was symphony, conductor, and audience reverberating, guiding her. As Lavelle stood silent witness to another awakening and coalescing, morning barely breathing in newfound stillness, ready for respite, Camilla navigated away from the known into tomorrow, unafraid. "Will it end here?" she wondered aloud as Luca whispered beside, his words smothering doubt with gentle stoicism. "Be the song that never ends." In that moment between notes, between chaos and silence, they moved forward together into anticipation and discovery, bound inextricably. And from behind, smoke wound upward, a pale wraith ascending the brightening sky, disappearing within dawn's interpretation.